Well, welcome everybody. I hope you've been having a good day so far. I'm happy to introduce David and Sue. As you know, I'm excited for this session personally, as a bassist who tries to keep a foot in the jazz world and the classical world. I think it's great anytime that we can, cross over into different genres, and that only enhances our musicianship. And so I'm really excited to hear what they have to say. So please join me in welcoming David Baker and Sue Buzzard.
Thank you guys so much. We're really excited to play for you guys as well. We actually met ourselves not too long ago, and so you can kind of see our credentials here, so we won't spend time there. But I play in a band called Hot House West that specializes in gypsy jazz music. And Sue moved to town, what was it, 3 months ago?
3 months, at the end of July. So sorry about this. But yeah, and gypsy jazz and early swing jazz is also what I specialized in. And I got connected with Hot House and have had a wonderful time with it, and meeting David and working with Dr. Baker.
So we came together and we decided this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about some of the things we're really passionate about in regards to string instruments, especially violin. For those of you who don't know, my first instrument was violin, and I played that all the way up until my junior year of my undergraduate degree, and loved gypsy jazz on that as well. So we came together and we have a thing for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. First of all, the goal of this presentation is for everyone here to leave the room with the ability to improvise on a jazz standard using a backing track with a live group.
Yeah, if you have your instruments, go ahead and get them ready to play.
Absolutely, take this time to unpack. You will be using your instruments and applying what we do. It's okay, it's a safe space. If you've never done it before and you think you're gonna be bad, don't worry, you're all gonna be bad, probably. Sorry.
So there's a lot of non-traditional genres. Is what we might call anything, really in the string world we might say anything outside of classical music. And each one has a unique approach, and we'll get into some of the details. But we're going to focus today on the idea of swing and jazz, because a lot of those elements will apply to a lot of other genres. So we can get a comfortable basis there. We'll have a comfortable basis in most sides.
Absolutely.
So we picked a tune. This is a great Oscar Pettiford tune. Oscar Pettiford being a great bass player from Muskogee County, Oklahoma, who played with Duke Ellington. He wrote a tune called Blues in the Closet. It's originally in G, but since we're focusing on violin, we moved it to the key to A because it lays even better, with y'all in mind. And so we'll play the melody to this tune for you real fast so you can get an idea of what we're going to learn to improvise on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, we still need to change. Oh, it's okay.
Right on, or do you want? Let's go right on it.
Let's do it right on.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Your tempo.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Things that we need to talk about in regards to string instruments playing non-classical styles, that we have some considerations that other instruments often don't. And the first most important one is this thing. A bow is a really unique challenge when you're improvising. And there's a lot of reasons as to why, but the first thing that's really important for us to consider is that in most other instruments, we only make sound in one direction. A saxophone blows air one way, a horn blows air one way, a piano pushes down one way. Even me, when I'm playing pizzicato, I don't plug the string this way. I only go one way. With a bow, we make sound in two directions. And so there's all these extra considerations we have to have that can make improvising really challenging. And so it's as if when I breathed in on a horn, it also made sound. You can think about that as the analogy. And so Sue's going to talk about some ideas of how to approach the bow that will open up some different concepts for us that we can apply as improvisers.
Yeah, wonderful. So first, if you are approaching this thinking, oh, there's this swing and this groove, and how do I feel this thing? We're not going to touch upon that right now. What we're going to do is look at these bowing practice exercises that are going to help your arm muscles get more comfortable and familiar with the swing and groove once you start to apply to it. So if you look at page 2, you're going to see some basic bowing techniques. I am going to demonstrate them for you, and then I'd like you to play them back with me. We have them just on an open string, so that you can practice the feel of the bow direction. And then we apply it to a scale, all right? Now I wrote this and designed it for an online course with Interlochen. And later I'd like to talk to you more about that. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. So let's look at number 2 right now, okay? This is the most jazz feel bowing, because the emphasis and where the bowing, the slur begins, is on the next 8th note. It's on the and. So we're connecting an offbeat to a downbeat, right? So 1, 2, number 2. Straight rhythm. Your turn. It's join me on number 2. 1, 2, ready, go. Fantastic. You did a great job. I played the wrong thing at first, but it's okay. We kept going. I was moving ahead to number 4, where we add even more to this, and we have even more slurs from offbeats to downbeats. Again, me first, and if you could, I'd love you to join me right afterwards on number 4, so there's no disruption between what we play. Also note, see the repeats? Ignore them, we're not doing them. So, all right, I'll give you a cue to enter number 4, me first. Absent of all slurs except between the and of 2 to the beginning of B3 and the and of 4 to the beginning of B1. Love it. Enough talk. Same thing. Me first, then you. Okay? 1 and 2 and ready. Number 5. Exercises that you can apply to different scales, to different open strings, to get your bow and your arm muscles accustomed to this direction and this kind of, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, so what you'll notice is a lot of times when we are playing classical music, we're either pre-planning our bowings to match some kind of phrasing that's already embedded in the music. A lot of times, a lot of our phrasing tends to be in square rhythms. But in non-traditional styles, a lot of our rhythms tend to be syncopated. And so we have to start training our arms to get used to how the bow feels playing syncopated rhythms in a way that we have efficiency around them. And so if we get used to these kinds of bowings, as we add the swing feel, it's gonna feel more natural as opposed to trying to play swing. But we demonstrate playing swing feel, but bowing downbeat up.
Oh man, like, can I?
Yeah, it's gonna feel really weird.
I feel I can't even pretend to manipulate it right now. I'm like, what is a song?
It's not the way you would phrase in this style, but it might be our first inclination. So we want to have these as options to practice. And we can apply these to our scale exercises. We can apply these to our arpeggios. Most importantly, we can apply these to melodies.
Yeah, right. Let's talk a little more about the bow. Conservation is important, to avoid kind of getting stuck at a spot that you don't want to get stuck in. Maybe too much with the frog or the tip without a strategy. You'll notice, and everybody did a wonderful job of playing mostly in the middle and only using as much bow as you needed. am not using a lot of power or weight to get this because my bow has to change direction very quickly. So of course using a lot of it is counterproductive to our purpose. Right.
When you're improvising, the thing that you'll find if you aren't practicing bow conservation with these bowings is that you might end up in a part of the bow you didn't intend to, and then you have to totally reset your bow to continue improvising. And so it's really important to use as little of the bow as possible. I can say as a bass player when I improvise arco, I probably use that much of the bow, maybe a little more, but not much. Because if I end up here, then I'm gonna have trouble if I'm trying to do another down bow after that. So it's really important that we use just as much as we need, and then when we need the dynamics, we can bring it back in. Of course, you can always add more bow. If you've got that conservation, it's gonna be more efficient.
And so, talking about the dialect or the sound of something that is in a non-classical genre, you may have noticed when I was even playing the melody, I would leave my bow on the string at the end of some phrases and notes. But there's a purpose to this. You have a cleaner cutoff of the note, and it also engages with the rhythm more at the end of a note. So, for example, what would it sound like if we played the melody of this blues song, and if I read it through the lens of a traditional classical violin? What would it look like? Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. As an example. So I'm reading exactly what it says. I'm playing the notes as long as they need to be. I don't see any staccatos or any tenuto marks to tell me how long and short it needs to be. But we're not always going to have that in jazz because the style is kind of inferred and implied. So
we show us now, when you leave the bow on the string, what it does is it actually puts an articulation on the cutoff. So you might have heard someone say, play the rest. In this case, we're actually playing the rest. There's the beginning of the note, which is easy for us to engage in the rhythm. It's when we start moving. There's the middle of the note, which is usually easy for us to engage because the bow's still moving. But then oftentimes we release, which is a beautiful thing to do. That's a nice blossom texture. But if we want to engage the rhythm, we have to stop with the bow on the string so the sound stops when we want it to.
Great.
So can we demonstrate that real fast?
Yes, we'll demonstrate what not to do.
First phrase, maybe.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay, now with the bow on the string. 1, 2, here we go.
I'm stopping it gently with my hand, holding it on the string to stop the movement of the string. So we have a clean articulation and vibration ends.
This will take a lot of getting used to, I promise.
Yeah. Great. So back just a little bit, we looked at some basic bowing techniques that we could do to build our muscle memory of our arm. Let's apply that to some different scale patterns, okay? So these are scale patterns that you can use to make your scale practice a little bit more interesting. If you'll notice, there's going to be numbers underneath the notes. That's the scale degree. So I'm going to play a level 2 scale, and I'm going to play it with one of the bowing patterns applied to it, okay? Let's just do the number 2 pattern, looking at this little scale pattern here, okay? So 1, 2, ready, and. Now adding the bowing, here's what it is. Okay, practice. Let's apply another one, okay? Would you like to try that with me? I saw some people kind of reaching for their bows like you wanted to give it a shot. If you would like to, join in. Let's join in at this point. If not, if you're like, whoa, slow down. It's fine, you don't have to. 1, 2, ready, go. Beautiful, I love it. I'm so overjoyed, thank you. I truly am, because some people tried, and maybe you're like, oh, but then you got it. I just love that you went in for it. Now let's apply number 4, okay? Adding a little bit more slurs, same level. Yeah. So I'll play it once with number 4, and then if you'd like to join in, you can. Okay, ready, and here it goes. You can apply these however you like. You could do in the different number variations, different scales. Take this home, play, have fun. It's something to maybe do a little bit of every day if you want to get this feeling in. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So then this kind of brings us to our next thing, the idea of style. And this is a really important thing, I think, as string players. We're often taught, develop your vibrato, develop your vibrato, develop your vibrato. In contemporary styles, we tend to try to avoid a default vibrato. Doesn't mean that we don't play with vibrato, but it's not our default sound. We want to get used to the idea of playing without vibrato so we can bring it in as a flavor. And so you can, I think, really hear the difference if you listen to vocalists in different genres. So obviously an operatic vocalist uses vibrato the whole time. It's a part of the phrasing, a part of the style. If you listen to a contemporary vocalist, maybe Frank Sinatra is a great example. So he plays straight tone and then at the end of the phrase maybe peppers in some vibrato. This will take some getting used to have it. When I was learning jazz violin, my teacher was like, stop, vibrato, stop, you gotta stop. You're so used to just doing it the whole time. And so this is something to draw your attention to as you practice these different exercises too. Am I playing with vibrato? Is it intentional? And the nice thing here is what I found is that what that does for your classical playing is it makes your vibrato a much more intentional choice, which is a beautiful thing. They can help each other.
And I feel like if we're practicing this, we're also practicing without vibrato in ways when you practice scales. You're not using vibrato, you're practicing for tone.
Mm-hmm.
You already know how to do this. You know, it's just applying that in different places.
It's good for your intonation.
It is. Great. Okay.
All right, so now we can start to apply these concepts. These are things that we've talked about so far, are things that you can take to the practice, that you can build exercises around, so that way things start becoming more natural, more comfortable. Let's go ahead and start applying this to that tune Blues on the Closet, and show you how we can already start to make an improvisational exercise like this.
Yeah. We start with the melody. That's a great place to begin if you're not sure where to begin. What's the melody telling us?
Exactly. So I think that's the mystery a lot of times with improvisation, is that it's like, where do I even begin? There's all this stuff. And so we're going to look at the melody and figure out what's happening in the melody and maybe take some information from there that we can apply.
Yeah. So, first line, we have this melody. So we're using all of the same notes. Start with the root, the third, fourth, down to E. That's the fifth of this chord. We start with an A7 chord, and the notes of that chord are, of course, A, C sharp, E, G. Wow, I almost blinked out there. That would have been embarrassing. So we have almost all those notes represented here.
So we can look at these notes and say, oh, this is a pitch collection that we could pull from. We know this melody works on this chord. And so we could say, okay, all four of these notes in theory work on this chord. In this case, we could call this a tetrachord. Tetrachord just meaning 4-note collection.
Yes.
So this gives us 5. 1, 3, and then 4. Now, and you can see that as we get to, if you look at the melody, when we get to the D7 chord, only one note changes. Otherwise, it's the same for everything. We get the C sharp becomes a C natural. So maybe that's something we'll put our attention to as we move forward.
Yeah. Here's what that sounds like.
All right, so these are the pitch collection of the whole tune. We've got these tetrachords. I like that because it's only 4 notes you got to worry about instead of even 7 notes like a normal scale. Just get rid of it, do what the melody does. We'll start there. At least we have a great starting point to get our feet wet.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to make our own tetrachord real fast, and I'll without getting into the whole theory land of it, I'll tell you why. There's one note in this tetrachord that could cause problems if we're not careful, and I'll play it and you'll know why. So here's an A major chord, and I'm going to play the D on top. It's like a little bit dissonant. I'm going to isolate. There's a whole theory behind it we don't have time to get into. So we're going to make our own tetrachord. We're going to adopt a new one from this, the same concept. So instead of playing the 4 on the chord, we're going to play the 2 instead, because it doesn't create that dissonance we just heard.
Right.
We can talk about it afterwards as to why, but
Yeah.
for time's sake, we'll skip past that.
And
So we're
here's
gonna,
what that sounds like.
I'll play the root with you.
Right on, let's do it. Here's what that sounds like. So.
And then on the D7, we'll change that C sharp to C natural, just like it did before.
Still sounds good. I feel like some people might, can we have some players play?
Yeah.
Just that? Can we do some call and response, folks? I feel like some people are, you have your instruments out. If you're itching to play, I'd love to hear you put it into practice. So I'm gonna play this first tetrachord, the A, B, C sharp, E, and I'd love to hear you right after me. 1, 2, 3, and great. Yes, great, thank
Awesome.
you. Brave people. play
That's
on
all
that
we're
song.
gonna deal with for now. Isn't that nice? It's like, oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
It's like a scale but with less notes. Perfect.
Beautiful.
So this brings up a concept that I like to call plug and play. And this is kind of a useful thing. The goal of this is not just to be able to take a lick and put it in, we can learn all sorts of language there, but it's the purpose of this really is about ear training. Getting our ear used to hearing shapes in our fingers, just like we're getting our bow arm used to the bowing patterns here, we want to get our left hand used to, ooh, these shapes over these chords feel good. Obviously we could practice using 12 keys. For now we'll keep it in this key. But we're going to take these licks and we're going to play them in time with the songs. To me it's very important as we practice improvisational concepts that we practice them in time. And there's a really good reason. When you play with a band, they play in time. And they won't wait for you. If you go, no, wait, they aren't gonna go back. They're gonna keep going. So we wanna start practicing with that kind of pressure on ourselves. And for me, when I practice, if I make a mistake, for me, I make a mental note and say, okay, next time, I'm gonna try to fix that mistake, but I'm gonna move on. It's also a great life skill to just like let something go and forgive yourself immediately. It's just a good thing to start practicing. I mean, maybe even
I
only
love
for
that.
that.
I completely agree.
So
good.
let's plug these tetrachords in on this song. And so maybe Sue, you play the tetrachord as it's written here, and then you guys play in the bar of rest, so we can alternate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay, let's do it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, I'm sorry. I did not even start it. See, sometimes mistakes happen in life. Take 2. 1, 2, ready, go. Yes, I love it. Yes.
One more time.
Yeah. Yes. Nice. Yeah, stop the sound. Yes. Fantastic. Wow, that was really clean at the end there, guys. Nice job. Great.
Nice.
Tetrachord number 2, okay?
It's the
I'll
same
no combos.
same notes, different order.
Okay, great. Let's get into it. 1, 2, here we go. Nice.
Excellent. Fantastic. We're playing notes that sound good on the chords.
Great.
Isn't that awesome?
Now-
Probably like what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great. Now, as Dr. Baker said earlier, training your ear is really important. So we're going to take these notes, play them out of order, just like in the different like scale pattern combos.
Same 4 notes. The
Mhm.
C sharp will change to C on the D7. Same 4 notes.
In the same place, but in a different order. It's gonna be call and response. So I'm gonna play, and then you're gonna play, okay?
Don't worry if you mess up. Fine. Forgive yourself. You got another one coming up.
Exactly. This is where you mess up, this is where it happens. Okay. I'm gonna try to keep the same rhythm for now, because we haven't done that. 1, 2, ready, go. Yeah. Yes, fantastic. Another round?
Yeah, I think
Want
so.
another round? Let's do it. 1, 2, that I made when I played at you over that D7. Who heard it? Yes, thank you. They're like, I didn't want to say anything, but I 1000% played C sharp when I should have played C natural. It would have sounded better. Mistakes happen. This is fine.
This
We're
is a
learning.
mental note. You
decided
fix
to
it.
change it right at the last moment.
Thank you.
It's called
Thank you.
improvisation.
You know, I enjoy.
Artistic liberty.
That's right,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
You know, and you know, we joke about that, but truly, like in that moment, I was like, this. The whole purpose of this is so we can all try to hear the yays and the nays and the differences. So I am going to practice harder at home and make sure I don't mess that up in the future. Let's move on to the next page where we talk about adding more rhythmic variation to this. Fun.
So we've taken our note collection that we took from the melody, we made our own with a little adaptation. And we started messing with different combinations of those. This is an idea of practice for me that with improvisation is really important. Take an idea, manipulate it, get a new idea. Manipulate it, get a new idea, manipulate it, get a new idea, and it feeds itself forever and ever and ever. And it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, that's messing with note choice. We play the same rhythm more or less at the same time. Now we want to mess with the idea of rhythm. And this can be the thing that gets kind of confusing. To me, I like to isolate these as principles so we can get our left hand together and then we can get our right hand together. Because like I said, the bow is a little bit tricky. Now for jazz, there's a rhythm to me that's like really quintessential rhythm to pull from because it's a perfect rhythm. And that's the Charleston rhythm, which comes from the dance to Charleston. And the beauty with this rhythm is it's a downbeat and an offbeat. And so if you move it through the bar, you move it by an eighth note, you get a whole new rhythm that's syncopated.
Okay.
So for instance,
Yeah, here's what that sounds like. 3, 4.
1, 2, 1. There's all these different permutations you can take from this, just this one rhythm. You'll notice too, it occupies the same space as those 4 eighth notes we play, which is kind of useful. So we can take this idea and create more call and response here to start developing a vocabulary for identifying rhythms in time.
Yep.
So just like we just did, do we want to do the same 4 notes? Do we want to limit it more? Or what do you think?
I think. No, let's do the same notes.
Same notes. So we got those 4 notes. We're already feeling responsible for those.
Yep.
Let's add this idea of messing with rhythm to those, drawing on the Charleston rhythm.
Yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lovely.
Yeah.
Great.
Some of those are tricky, right? Nice.
We're gonna make it, it's too easy. We're gonna make it more fun.
So we mess with the idea of our pitch collection, which to me is like a really strong place to start from. There's precedent for this too if we think about the history of improvisation, especially in swing in the era. The idea that before we started messing with what we might call chord scale theory today, you played in a key and then you made adaptations to that key based on the chords. Exactly. Then we mess with the idea of rhythmic permutation. Now what we're going to put into play here now is the idea of transposition. To me, this is kind of the third step of improvisation. We've taken a pitch collection that we know works on a chord quality. Now can we apply it to the same chord quality in a different place? Now the benefit here is this tune, as far as we're looking at it, has 3 chords, A7, D7, E7. They're all dominant chords. So we could take this shape where we had 1, 2, 3, 5, and start it on each chord. So that might sound like this. Here's A7. And then D7, we're going to do the same shape starting on D. And then on E, same thing. And maybe just to resolve it. Okay.
Leave it hanging.
And so now it's the same concept of the same pitch collection, but now we have more pitches to be responsible for. What this adds into the complexity for us is we have to pay attention to where we are in the tune. We have to be more responsible to each chord change. But because we've gone incrementally, it should feel a little less daunting than it did before. So maybe, let's plug them in time normally.
Yeah.
So we'll play them as written, do-ba-do-da, and then you guys do-da-do-da, and then repeat it just like that. And then we'll go straight into some call and response and see what happens.
Yeah, let's go for it. 1, 2, here we go.
Yeah.
Exciting, nice.
There you go.
I feel like we may be ready to try actually playing.
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun thing. With call and response, we're only a fraction of a step away from truly improvising. You're having to hear the chords, you're having to be responsible for rhythm, you're having to be responsible for all the things we've talked about. But right now, you're just emulating what you're hearing. It takes one step to get to improvisation. That's take away the emulate. You generate the content. And here's the nice thing, you can mess up in all the ways that you did before, and it's the same amount of forgiveness. Should we try and see if someone want to try to,
Yes.
maybe we do call and response, but someone else creates the material, and the rest of us call and response to that. Who's feeling brave? This is a safe space, it's a laboratory. Yeah, okay, so you play content, and then we're gonna respond.
Let's do it.
Okay, same notes though, right?
Say
Yeah.
notes, yeah, for now.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, nice.
Fantastic.
Nice.
One of my favorite benefits to doing a call and response exercise like this is that you can get a lot of ideas that you can steal. And you can do this with records. This is one thing I would do is I would play with a record, someone would play a phrase, and I'd try my best to play it back. And then I get an idea of, oh, this sounded great when they played it. Let's see how close I can get. Obviously, it gets more complex as we add chromaticism and these other elements. But in practice, it's not that much more complicated than what we're doing right now. Should we try someone else leading?
I'll try.
Yes!
Yeah, good.
Who's peer pressure was?
So, great, while they're getting set up, another way that we can play with this in this room is, we can also have a free play where
Yeah.
we just have Dr. Baker playing these changes, and we all can take our own little solo and our own little
Yeah,
middle.
we'll do that next episode.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. There's a, or like, we'll pass, I can pass a solo, or like, I will play some, like, the first 4 measures, or the first 2, and then another person will, and then, so there's fun variations that you can also, if you want to apply this with friends, or young,
class.
or in a class, or students, like, there's other ways to throw it around. Okay, let's go. You good? Yeah.
1, 2, here we go.
I like all your choices. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Should we do some free play?
Let's do the free play.
Okay, this is a nice thing to do sometimes, that I found in improv classes, and you've talked about this too, is it'll sound like chaos, but it's kind of nice because then you can all hide behind each other and feel empowered to play.
Yeah.
So we're gonna I'm gonna walk a bass line and you guys just have some fun, mess around with these concepts for a moment.
And
Yeah.
yeah, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So at this point, I think we'll sort of wrap things up here.
Yeah.
You can see how in fairly quick succession, we're already improvising over a tune. And obviously there's more complex ways to apply this, but the principles of it all are still there, as complex as things get. It's just more tones to be responsible for, maybe more rhythms, maybe more transposition. But everything we talked about is true all the way through.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of things I think that are important to remember, especially as string players, I think, approaching this world, because I think it's an uncomfortable place sometimes. At least I remember feeling that way. So the first one is feel free and be empowered to think things through. I think sometimes there's a misconception that when you improvise, you're truly making everything up on the spot. And maybe that's true for some people, but not really most people. Like you're allowed to work out things and figure things out, write it out, think it through, put it on your instrument, practice licks, and put it into play. That's okay. That's a great way to learn. Again, we gotta train our ear, we gotta train our right arm, our left arm, we gotta train them together.
Yeah.
That's totally okay to do. So I think that's myth one that we could bust.
Absolutely. And an add-on is what we did here with everything we played today. It was such a small window of what you could do with all of these things. These notes we gave you, they're within 1 octave. What if you went all over the fingerboard, all over the fretboard? What if you made jumps? What if you, played scales and applied these to different keys? These are very good foundations that we encourage you to plug in to things along that different dimensional border.
To that point, the most important question is what if? It's a good question. Ask yourself that one a lot.
Yeah.
The second one, don't be afraid to jump in. I think as string players, this is a big one. Sometimes we're like, I'm not gonna go to the jam session until I feel ready. Here's the secret. You're never gonna feel ready. The best way to feel ready is to just do it. And then you won't feel ready, but at least you did it. And then now you're ready, you did it. It's like, it's the only thing, there's only one way forward.
It's so true.
And then that will always be true. There will always be times where you're like, I'm a little nervous to do this. I don't know the style, I don't know the things. Just go for it. It's gonna be the fastest way forward every time. Now to that effect, it's okay to play simple. We get this weird pressure that we have to be the hippest thing that ever happened. And you just don't have to be. If you go in and play the roots on every chord in time, everyone will be like, yeah, great, nice, you
Yeah.
did it. Like really, if I was at a jam session, someone came on and they're like, and then they go to the D on time, it's like, great, you did it.
Yeah,
Like, all
you
right.
stood in front of people and made yourself
Right.
vulnerable. You deserve, yes, absolutely.
To that effect too, like you don't have to, if you feel like you want to reach beyond what you know and try things, by all means you're empowered to do that. But you can also go to a jam session and only play things you know. You could work some stuff out and go try. That's the point of those environments. So that's okay too. And the most important one, it's okay to fail, and in fact it's important to fail. Go in with the idea of like, I really sucked today, that was awesome,
Yeah.
now I can learn. There's a great attitude adjustment that you can make around that.
Yeah.
And that gives us, I think, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna tell a quick story about how I went to a
Yeah.
jam, and
Uh-huh.
like the blues form has so many melodies around it, and someone was like, hey, let's play this blues, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but I can learn it because I am confident in my skills. No, I couldn't. It was really hard, and I still like thought that I could learn it just by listening to it. It's a weird tune. I still went up and took a solo because I really wanted to try. I failed. I totally bombed. I just stood there and played like a note every 2 measures. But I played as confidently as I could with my skills, and then I left, and I was like, well, I'm learning that tune. For I know that I don't know it.
Notes.
I'm
pretty
like,
good.
I was with the band, and I'm like, I failed so horribly, but it really is okay, because I was in a place where people were welcoming and comfortable, and that is really important, is like, I was in a place that was welcoming, which is great, but regardless of the vibe, you are as welcome in a jam as anyone else. Any other instrument that is there, you are still welcome there, okay? Join in, know that you belong. You belong in these places where we're trying to better our musical creativity and expand what we can do for ourselves and the world of music that we share, okay? So if anybody gives you an attitude,
Send them to Sue.
like they have issues that they need to work out on their own. It's all about them, it's not about you. If then somebody gives you like, what are you doing here? Okay, you need to like figure out your stuff because I'm here and I'm gonna play. Okay? That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it's okay to take up space in these places that we
Yes.
don't often see ourselves represented. in
Take up
other
space.
words. It's important. And I think as string players, especially maybe as violinists, that it might not feel like we're welcome, but I think it's important to remember that you are in fact welcome. And this music isn't for one
Yeah.
group of people, it's for everybody.
Yeah, and P.S. we are welcome. We're not welcome because the history of our instrument in this genre. Sorry, I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about this. We like violins playing jazz goes back almost as
Yeah.
early as the development of jazz itself. If you don't know who
Sure.
Stuff Smith is, you need to educate yourself. You need to learn right now. Stuff is the man, and we've been here. Okay, we've been here. So just because there's not a lot of us doesn't mean we haven't been here for a long time.
Amen.
Sorry, I care about it a lot.
Anyways, we want to open it up for any questions you might have. Obviously, this is with regards to jazz and swing music, but there's the whole world of fiddle music and all these other contemporary genres as well that have similar things but different things. So bear that in mind as well.
Yeah.
But any questions we can answer.
How do you think you'd get over just like if you know you can do improv, but you just can't get over the mind block of like, I'm scared to do it? How would you deal with that?
That is such a great question. I really love that. I think that to get over, this is my opinion, because I've been fortunate to play in places where people are supportive. And I think that can help with it, is first putting yourself in environments where you feel supported and you feel like there are people or things or places around you that have your back. Even if that is you in a practice room with your favorite song and playing along to that, if it is able to help put you in a state where you are, because like a mind block I believe can come from a lot of anxiety and feeling like I'm not in a safe place, you know, like you can boil it down to that as an option. If you can put yourself in a place where you feel comfortable and you feel relaxed and you can try things out and know that everything is going to work out in a way, I think that is a good step to take towards it. So invite your friends or people who support you to listen to you or come to a practice room with you or play stuff that you enjoy and practice something that you can get confident in. And if you do want to go out to a jam, you know, tell everybody who you feel is gonna be there to catch you when you fall, kind of in a way, you know? Like, I think also, last thing about this, play out a scenario of like, if I'm afraid of something bad happening, what is that? What does it look like? And like really write it out and be like, okay, this is like, let's say I go up there and I totally freeze and I can't even play a note and then I like faint on stage or something, I don't know. What would happen after that? Do you feel like you have people who can pick you up, be like, it's cool, we still love you, you are a great player, this is just a blip in your music making career?
Yeah, I think my answer would come from a couple places. The first one, I think, the first thing, if you can, is best, this is easier said than done, but care less in the sense of, meaning like, if you play around at a jam session in the context of the world, what does that mean? I was talking to my sister works in emergency medicine in Jacksonville, and she's like, oh, we had a rough day today. 2 people came in with gunshot wounds, and I was like, that never happens in my line of work, you know what I mean? Like, if you can contextualize there's a little bit of, I think, some aid, but I know that's more of like something to work towards. To me, it's about creating baby steps towards it. So if you can create an environment where you're slowly starting to get comfortable being kind of the center of attention where you're generating this material. And I think it starts by finding people that are like-minded or in a similar place and playing with each other. Because you're gonna build this kinship around it, and then you can go out, as Sue says, as a group, which I think is really helpful. Additionally, the thing I would say is create opportunities where people hear you more when you don't wanna be heard. Because then when you go and you've already been practicing, it's gonna be helpful. So for instance, when I did that in my undergraduate, my bass teacher would leave her office door open for all of our lessons. And her office was right in the middle of the practice room.
Okay, that sounds terrifying.
It was terrifying. But I'll tell you what though, there's something about like putting yourself in that environment that you start to get used to it. And what you realize is like people don't care as much as you care. And I think that's important to remember, is that no one puts more pressure on you than you. And the third thing I'll say, and this was the most helpful to me personally, put your attention on anybody but yourself. Usually when you're nervous, you're looking inwards. And in an improvisational context, we have the benefit that there are other people usually improvising with you. So when you start to feel nervous, don't play right away. Take a second, breathe, and then focus on something. If there's a bass player, focus on the bass player, and only put your attention there. And feel free to play, of course, and listen to the drums, whatever it is, but put your attention somewhere else. And then it starts to become more about the group, and you'll start to develop a true sense of care and love for that other musician, where it takes pressure away from you. And you'll realize, oh, they've got your back. As a bass player, if you play something and it's funky, I'll be like, all right, let's just go there. And you'll be like, oh, cool, they've got my back. I feel a little more at ease. So anyways, that would be my advice.
That's actually really good advice. I feel like I do that sometimes in sessions. I'm like, I'm not sure. Let me listen to other people, because then that also inspires me and gives me a direction to go next if I'm working off something.
Yeah.
Cool. So I hope that helps.
Any other questions?
I just so appreciate your breaking these things down into steps. Do you like practicing with I Real B or something like that?
Absolutely.
So,
I think that's a great resource.
so
Yeah.
if you're on, yourself in a practice room, but you really need a track to practice with, are you all familiar with I Real B?
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna.
think it's called iReal Pro.
Yeah.
iReal Pro.
Yeah, it's
Used
updated,
to
but
be,
I want to write it, but I don't know if I
iReal
can
Pro.
write it.
And you can manipulate like
Yeah.
the speed.
Yeah.
and all
Yeah,
that.
I Real Pro.
And if any of you guys have it, I've got a
iReal.
bunch of practice tracks
Thank
I've
you.
made in that app
Yeah.
that practice
Oh,
chord
really?
progressions in all 12 keys.
Oh.
I have 74 of them.
Cause
Yeah.
you can take just the things.
Oh
that
yeah,
you
and you
need to
just
say,
plug them in
and just
for
plug 'em in.
for days
Yeah.
and days and days.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's also a backing track on from another creator from YouTube. I feel
Oh,
like
like jazz standards, those.
yeah. So we
Boise based.
just messing around, we found a site called Learn Jazz Standards, and they have YouTube videos that are just blues in A for 20 minutes. So really, you can do a Google search, be like blues backing track in C major or something, and it gives you a video with just the audio that you can practice to. So that's another resource we encourage you
Definitely.
to play with.
I think breaking it down to those bite-sized chunks is really helpful, because it's so overwhelming otherwise. It's like you're responsible for so much. And just focus on the one thing.
Yeah.
And to your point too, if you're nervous going into an improvisational context, focus on one aspect. Say today I'm only going to worry about rhythm, and that sometimes can take some pressure off because you're only dealing with one of the many things that make up music.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was thinking on this for a presentation and thinking, oh, you could play D. You could just play the note D, your entire solo, and it would work. And you could just play it in different rhythms. And I'm like, that's acceptable. It's great, it's fine. You can, depending on, then you really allow yourself and give yourself permission to focus on tight rhythm, placement, groove, like
Stopping the bow on the string.
stopping the, exactly,
Bowing off
really
keys.
getting the style. Because I think when I started to play, I was intimidated kind of by the style. It's like, oh, you have to sound like this. And I'm like, well, I sound like this. And they're like, well, you have to sound like this. So I'm like, okay, working on getting that emulation, I feel like will help you feel like you fit into the sound more. And then it will sound good. Okay, enough talk.
I think
Thank
we're
you
out
so
of
much.
time.
Yeah.
We've got our contact information there if you have additional questions. And if anyone wants to dive into pro things, just come
How
on
about
here.
one more hand for David and Sue? We're almost to the end of our day now, so we're gonna head to the auditorium now for the presentation of the competition awards. And then we have our last session, the reading session, which will take place in the rehearsal room where lunch was. So I encourage you guys to head down to the auditorium where the keynote presentation this morning was.